Hello guys, and welcome back to another Tweaker Man video. Finally getting the time to finish off the mains conditioning hub. So I've made the internal wiring there. I've got one more to make, which I'll show you on camera how to do it. Okay, I've already cut all the earth wires there using a nice thick earth there. There's our earth terminal, all done and nicely finished, which we're going to solder the earth to the back of. We've got our IEC plug, our C16 or C20. We've got our mains filter here that's going into this section here. We've got our 4 sockets there. And to do this job, we're going to need a variety of tools, heat gun, drill, some wire cutters there, and we're going to need a series of bits and pieces, heat shrink, braid, nylon braid, a soldering iron. So we need some silver solder. So it's organised chaos in here again, because I work in this studio of mine as well, so I have to fit everything in. So we might as well crack on. So I shall put the camera into the tripod now and we'll get going. So I've decided to go with my original design. So the mains cable, 20 amp mains cable that's going into the block here, is made of vari-strand, and the cables that come out of the block into the equipment are also made of vari-strand. So I'm going with the vari-strand on the internal wiring. So I've made it all up already, these bits there. And now I'm just going to show you how to do it. So these vari-strands are made up of 2 0.315 conductors, 4 0.4 mil conductors, and then 2 0.6 mil conductors. So what we're going to do is we're going to we'll get them all there, push them down, make sure we get them all to the same length and that. Okay, and then we'll twist the first bit by hand, and then we'll just turn it over on itself, because it won't fit in the drill chuck otherwise it needs to be slightly thicker. So we'll just get the drill, put that into there. This is the most, you can turn this by hand, but this is the most effective way to do it. So we're just going to hold it like so, spin it, okay, and that's about it. Just get a nice tight spin. I've got very good at just judging it these days. So you've got a very nice tight spin there. And now we're going to be giving these conductors 3 layers of PTFE tape. Okay, so this is a high density PTFE tape, which is a lot thicker than your average PTFE tape. Just check that's filming still okay. Yeah. Right, so very easy to spin this short amount. You get it into your fingers like so and just keep going around like that. So some may say, why don't you just buy a wire already made up? But it's not as good quality as this. I do find this silver cladded copper to be very good. Yes, pure silver is 5% better, but it's very minimal. And I dare you to notice the difference on a mains cable. So 3 layers of this all over, and it gives it a nice thick layer. Now if you notice, this one's is a yellow colour. It's just different PTFE tapes I get from different suppliers. As you know, I love a bit of PTFE. Go through absolutely stacks of it. Right, so we've got to the end there, and we want to chop that off. Now, if you've noticed, I've twisted these cables together. So I'm twisting the negative and the positive, the brown and the blue, or the red and the black, depending on what you want to do, really. So all we do now is we need to leave a fair amount, because it's going to be split and going into the plug in the back of the plug here. So we need a fair amount to be able to, you know, give us loads of access. There we go. So sometimes I get in trouble for saying things on these videos, because I get my words a bit tongue-tied. Never easy filming and talking at the same time. I notice a lot of people don't do it. They add their text in at the end, but I don't like doing that. I just like to waffle on. There we go. We'll get this nice and neat to there. There we go. So this is that, effectively. So this is the one we're going to use, because I already cut it to the right length, and this was just a sample to show you. Right, okay. So now what we need to do, we've got our heat gun plugged in. We need to work out on here what is the negative and the positive now, because we've already twisted them together without doing that. Right, so here we have our multimeter. We're going to set it to ohms on there, and then we're going to test it. If I put that on the side, you might be able to see it there. We're going to test it to see what conductors what. Right, so that's not the right one. That is. See, now that's gone up. So if we put it onto there, it stays at 0. We'll put it onto there. There we go. So we know that this one and that one is the is one conductor. So I'm going to put a bit of black on either end of this, just to show that, and then we'll just test the other side to make sure. Now I haven't put any. Yep, there you go. That's correct as well. I haven't put any heat shrink to separate these two conductors. So 3 layers of this is ample. So effectively there's 6 layers in between the two conductors. Also, as you wrap this round, you don't actually get 3 layers, you actually get 6, because they're overlapping each other. So effectively there's 12 layers of PTFE in between the two conductors. So now what we need to do now is we've got our heat shrink here. We want to cut some heat shrink now to slide over these bits at the end, because we want to indicate what's what. So just check that. So we need 2 bits of black and 2 bits of red. Set that over there. And I've been dying to get this this mains hub finished, but my work's been really busy, and I just haven't had any time. That's why I haven't uploaded so much recently. I've got to it's going to take time, but right, okay, so we've done that now. So we're just going to slip that over there and slip one of those over here. Right, now just going to put our heat gun on and just shrink those down. Right, that's that end. And now we're going to do the same with this end. I always like to pull the heat shrink back from the conductor. I don't like the PVC heat shrink touching the conductor. So because PVC has got a dielectric constant of about 3.9 and Teflon is around about 1.6, I think. So so we don't really want that to touch really. So so there we go, we've got that to there now. So I've used this nice red braid here because I had a load of it anyway, so I thought I might as well use it up. It's not going to be seen inside the unit there, so it doesn't really matter, it can be anything you like. So all I do is I just syringe the ends off of there on here just to melt the braid down, so it don't fray when I open it up. It'll be fraying otherwise, so I like to. That's perfect. You can do it on the soldering iron as well, but seeing as I had that out, it was just as easy to do it like that. So I just want to open the end up, use anything, a pair of scissors, screwdriver, just to make sure it's not glued together, stuck together too much. Okay, so now able to thread all that through nice and easy. We need just to wrap a bit of PTFE tape around the two conductors there. Right, okay. So here we go. I've got to get that through there like so. Push that up. Reminds me of a snake, this colour. Like gives you that like snake sort of look to it. Right, okay, so we've got that through there now. Take that up. There we go. So we've got that nice and neat on each end there. Spot on. Right, so now what I've got to do now is to put a piece of heat shrink over each end of it. So we've got some heat shrink here. So if you've been watching these videos already, you'll see the amount of work that's gone into just producing the cabinet work on this. I mean, you can see why a company would be charging a fair amount for doing these, because a lot of them are low production as well. I mean, even like when we come to audiophile vinyl, they do low production stuff. A lot of them are pressed at small little plants, and that's why they charge a lot of money for it. It's complicated, but the idea of this channel is to try to give you an idea on how to build stuff yourself, really, which saves you money, because at the end of the day, if you're building it yourself and you're doing it in your spare time, it don't cost you nothing. So this is how we can build a revolution of cable building and all sorts of stuff. You know, if I could press a vinyl record, I'd be showing you how to do that. Trust me, I would, but I can't. So that's a bit above my pay grade. But so now we're just going to shrink that around there. Remember to keep it away from the braid. You can, if you want to wrap a bit of PTFE tape around the braid so you don't melt the braid, you can do, or just tickle it in from the sides like I'm doing here. There we go. So that's one there. Let's give that a bit, another little blast there, just to shrink that in. Okay, same with this end. Pop this over. Now I'm going to leave a bit of cable inside the plug part, inside the back plate, the back box I should say, because if we want to service it anytime we want to be able to get it out, it's easier to do that with a bit of cable left behind it, so it's not too tight. We don't really want it too tight. Tickle it in from afar, don't go too close with it, otherwise it'll melt it. There we go. Right, so we've got it to that. So now we've got our shortest length. So you'll get the gist of how this goes in a minute, because I've decided to go on the way I've decided to wire this up. So if you can imagine a house, it's going to have a ring main in it, and your cable goes from one plug to another, and then it links up. Now I'm not doing that with this. What we're doing is, here's our filter, and we're connecting all these cables up from the filter. Okay, so they're all going to be soldered together and then soldered onto the filter, and then and then they're all going to go off to their dedicated sockets, so each socket is not interrupted by the next one, if you get what I mean. Now you may have your own ideas about this, but this is the way I'm doing it, because I used to do it like this before when I run my audio business. I made several mains conditioning hubs then, and this was the way I did it, because I like to isolate each separate plug socket opposed to them all being connected. So all we've got to do now is to get our mains hub back up on here, and we can start wiring stuff up. But before I do that, what I want to do is I want to solder this earth onto the earth spike there, onto the earth terminal I should say, at the back. So we'll do that now. So I've now got the earth, because I want to connect this earth plug up, and I need to solder this to the earth plug there. So I've separated the earth there. All I want to do is because this is very thick, this earth wire, I want to trim. I've separated it a bit, and I want to trim some of that off, because it's going to be soldered to it anyway, which you'll see in a minute. Okay, so we're just going to take those two together. We're going to twist these round, because what we want to do is we want to solder those two together. Get our pinchers here, give it a good old twist together. Now my other soldering iron seemed to pack up this morning, so I'm using this one of my uncle's that I found at his house, which is just a basic one, but it does the job. So I want to push all these wires back in there. They're quite tough, these wires, so they're nice and the reason I'm using this very large earth is because I think it's better to have a nice big earth on there to really make sure everything's earthed out nicely. Right, okay, so that's about right there. So we're just going to hold that onto there. Now we're going to get our silver solder here. Okay, bring that back a bit to make sure you can see. And we want to solder all of this together. It's quite a lot of soldering. I need to pick myself up another soldering station, because this isn't nowhere near as good as a soldering station. And that's not done a too bad job there. Right, that's that like that. Now we want to flip it over, turn it round to make sure that we solder both sides of it, so all the cable's nice and soldered together. Bring that up here a bit more so you can see. The reason why I put solder on the end of the cable first is because it's a lot easier to solder it to the plug once it's got solder on it. That's link going in there nice and neat now. Get a nice load of solder in there. There we go. Right, okay, so all we want to do now is to neatly just, it's very hot now, so I just want to nip a bit off the end there if I can, just with these, that's it. I'll make a nice neat end. So we'll leave that to cool down a second over there, while we now put a bit of solder onto the end of this plug here. Now when you're soldering a plug like this, it's quite, it needs to get very hot to get the solder on there. Now I think that's gone on there alright. That looks like it's on there alright. Right, so now we need to turn this around. Making sure we don't get it, making sure we don't touch the soldering iron at the same time. And we really want to solder them two together like so. So we're going to load the soldering iron up with some solder first now. There we go. Hold it there for a bit, make sure it's not going to, no, see, it's popped off there. So we need to go again. This is often where you could do with another pair of hands to do these sort of jobs, but I tend to go do well quite on my own a lot of the time. So we'll just try to get that up there, that's it, like that. That'll probably do it. I'm going to get a bit more solder on there, on the end of here. Okay, now let's have a go again now. Right. Now because this is quite a thick cable, you see, it does tend to take a while to get it to adhere to the plug there. You know, I've used a load of solder up as well to do it. Let's have another go now. Right, there we go. Nice and solid now on there. So all we need to do now is we're going to actually what we're going to do, we're going to put a piece of heat shrink over that now, because we want to make sure that that's all nice and tied up neatly. There, need a bit bigger one than that, so I've got some slightly bigger one here, which is a red colour. Doesn't really matter what colour it is. Just pop that over there. Right, so we're going to thread all this through here, down this end. Take it up. What's that? That's very hot. Going to go right up over the top of that. Right, I think I need to reduce the length of that slightly. Pick that up. As I say, this is organised chaos in here. It's always nice to cover everything up with heat shrink to keep it nice and protected. That's it. Right, we'll get that up to there, shrink that down. Put that over. Now you're probably going to say, why am I doing it like this? So what happens is this will terminate off onto here, okay, onto the earth, and then it will go to this earth spike, straight to the earth spike, and then from the earth spike it will daisy chain then off onto each socket. Sorry, my throat's getting dry in here. So we've got that together. So now all we need to do now is we need another piece of this earth wire to now, because the filter needs an earth onto it as well. So we're going to now bring our unit back up onto here again, making sure we push everything over. Okay, make sure there's nothing under there that's going to damage it, the underneath of that. Make sure I get this a bit of dust off. Okay, so this is now going to be wired straight away through. There we go. So now you see that plug now is going to screw onto there, like so. And this is going to be going into one part of the plug and then the other one. So we'll leave that like that for now. And now what we're going to do now is we're going to link all the other earths through. They will go through like so. But we have a slight issue. I'm going to turn the soldering iron off for a minute. Is because all these cables, they're very thick. And this is the bit that's tricky. Getting all these cables thread all through. You see. So we need to start threading some of these fairly heavy cables through without the earth being in the way, because the earth is easy to slide it in through the little gaps. So we'll just pull this out again for the moment. Put this over here. Right, now we're going to thread all this through. So this has got to go right the way through here from the front to the back. This is the longest socket. Okay, so that goes up to there. And then we need the second longest one. It's going to go through there. Now, it's always best to put a piece of PTFE tape over the ends of the conductor there, so otherwise they'll just get all damaged up as you push them through. Right, that's popped off there. Oh no, we don't need to go through that one. What am I doing now? So that seems to have popped off there, which we're going to put back on in a minute, because it'll be easier to thread all these through actually. So what I'll do, I'll pop these off at the moment, these grommets. Now it's good to keep these grommets on there, purely because it helps the conductor stop it from rubbing, the braid rubbing against raw metal. But in able to get these through, they're not very big to get this size wiring through. Sorry, I'm getting tongue tied again. Right, so we'll just pull some of these out for a minute, and then what we'll do is once we get them put through, we can then fit those back in afterwards, which is a very good idea. I should have done that in the first place. Right. Okay. Pull that through there. Right, so that one's through, and we've got this one through. And we're going to have to connect all these up together afterwards. Right, so the next one is this one. Okay, again we need to wrap some more PTFE tape and take the conductor. And it starts to get very tight. Now, I'm not sure whether you can see this on camera, but I'll show you it once I've threaded it all through. There we go, lovely. Look at that. Going through nicely. And then we've got one more to go. So I can actually push these back into place, these grommets now. Do get very fiddly, these grommets. That's it, that one's in. Lovely, there we go. So what I'll do is I'll bring the camera around so you can see what's going on here. A bit better. See if I can get it in closer for you guys. That's it. See that? All the hell bugger to get in these things. And I like to do it properly, so let's bring you around this side here. Very amateur this filming, but you'll get the gist of what goes on. Be nice to have a full camera crew to do this for me. There we go. Perfection. This one now. Up to here. Right, so we've got one more to go through here, which we need to put some PTFE tape around. Just checking what way's the longest. About the same. Right, now this is the last one to thread all through. As I say, it gets very tight now. There we go. Right, so now we want to pop that grommet back on this end down here. I could do with a screwdriver or something to get in there. 1 second, let's get something that we can use to push that into place. There we go, this is a very nice tool. It's used for upholstery and it's a staple remover, but it's got a very nice flat end on it. And it's good for getting the grommet over the end there. That's it, nearly there. Lovely, straight in there. Right, we're cooking on gas now, guys. Right, so here we have all our conductors now, and we've got to now connect all them together. So we're going to pull it through a little bit so we can get them all nicely connected up together. So we want all the blacks connected together, and then all the reds. There we go. So what we're going to do is just going to twist them all, make sure they're all in line and they're all pretty much the same. Now I shall run through at the end of this video all of the stuff that I've done. I won't tell you too much at the moment. We'll just stay to the end and then I'll be able to tell you all what we've done. Right, so I need to get all these three together now. And twist all them together nice and neatly. Now what we want to do is we want to get the soldering iron back on, which is handy. I didn't turn it off. And we want to solder these together nice and neatly. The beauty of soldering silver is it really takes the solder really well, opposed to copper, which does as well, but not as easy as this does. It really seems to, you really want to make sure that you really soldered all this up nice and neat so it's all connected together lovely. Right, give that a wipe off because it gets a bit... Right, so the underneath of that looks alright. Now to that one. Now I've run out of the solder, so I need another strip. Put that over there for the minute, so he's messing that up. Right, let's go. I think this soldering iron's perfectly fine, but it just needs a new tip on it. The tip's gone a bit funny. It's got a bit worn out. Right, okay. So let's just leave that for a second to thingy. We just want to clean the end up of this and make it a bit more... Okay, just trim those off. Right, so these are all ready now to just solder onto our terminals there, our neutral and our live. So our negative and our positive. Okay, so let's push all this back through now. I'm going to move the camera back down the end here again now, so you can see what's going on down here. There we go. So let's take off our PTFE tape here and reveal our conductors there. And now what we want to do is we want to solder the ends of all these. So all of the different size conductors are all nicely connected to each other. That's it. And it also thickens the wire up to go into the plug as well. But we're just going to pull it back slightly on itself when we solder them. Just that gives us a thicker wire at the end where we screw it down onto the terminal there. So you can see I'm just going to put it back on itself slightly. There we go. Funny part about it is when you do it, like I say all the time, when you're doing this off camera, it's so quick. When you do it on camera, you've got to really, like, you've got to be on the ball with it all, because everybody makes mistakes all the time, but on camera it looks a bit rubbish if you make mistakes. But the problem is, that's what life's about, making mistakes and learning from the mistakes you make and trying to better it the next time you do it. Right, so this one here, I think I went a bit crazy with the PTFE on that one. Right, so these two here already turned over nice and neatly. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go around now soldering all these conductor ends up. Nice and neat. I'm sure a lot of you don't watch these videos right the way through. You probably skip stuff, which, to be fair, I do on a lot of other videos I watch as well, depending on if I'm really into it or not. But it becomes a bit tedious, and you don't really want to hear me dribbling on all the time. Now, I could talk about football, but I won't bore you with my other sad passion. There we go, nearly there. Last two. There we go. Right. Push that up. Right, so they're all now nicely soldered up. So this is where now we can start threading our earth cables through. So we've got 3 earths here. So we should hopefully be able to get that through there. It's going to be tight. Very tight going through there. Right, so I'm going to have to put a piece of PTFE tape over the ends of these as well, because they're a bugger to get on. Let's just have a quick make sure that's filming all right again. Blimey, 26 minutes again. This is going to be a long and laborious video for you guys. But hey, what better else have you got to do? What else have you got better to do than to sit here watching me, eh? There we go, look at that, straight through. What a beauty. Next one. As you go down slowly, you get less, because there's only one cable going into the end one, and that should just slide through there, hopefully, without having to put anything on it. Yep. There we go. So here's our earth's already connected up. now I've got to get the PTFE tape off them. Bit of a pain. I'll end up finding it all clips together and right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to solder the ends up of all these earth wires, and I'm going to come back to you in a minute because you know, it's self-explanatory how to solder these up. So I'll be back shortly. Now we've soldered all the the ends up here, and we need to now put our earth terminal through now, which we want to get all the way through as well, which is going to be quite tight. Right, okay. Gonna have to put a bit of PTFE tape around that as well, because it just keeps getting snagged up as it goes through. Right, so this does get quite congested when you're doing this. There we go, straight through there. That's one. Well, that's on there still. Make it easier to go through. Push that through there. So this gets very tight now. That's it, it's gone through there. Now what I should have done is left those grommets out until I'd done this as well, because it makes it tight, but hey, we live and learn. So we need to come back there. I've got to get through that one now, which is very tight indeed. You've got to be extremely careful when you're doing this as well. So we've now got our earth through to the end here, which is quite tight because we've got a lot of wires going through there. So all we need to do now is just to push this up. I need to get that onto there, through there. That's it. Right, pull this right the way through. You can see what a job this is to make one of these. As I say, you can see, I mean, other companies, they do charge a fair amount, but right, so we've got our plug on the end here now. It's all nice and connected still, nothing's broken or anything. We really could do with drilling a hole in the back, these holes in here now, so we can get a couple of screws into there. So I have some screws to go into there. Now I can't remember where I've put those now, but they will be perfect for that if I can find those. Right, I'll have a look for those now and then I'll come back in a second. So we've now got our earth plug fitted there. It's looking very nice. We've got all the wiring all the way through. Okay, so now what we need to do is we're going to solder our mains filter on. I've already pre-drilled some holes so they can fit into these holes here. So let's crack on and solder these onto. I mean, these filters, you can actually use a tab to go on there, but like a spade connector. But I'm going to solder them to them. So let's get the camera on the tripod and do that now. So we've got our filter into place here now, but all we need to do now is just to solder it to the tab there that's sticking out. Right, what I think I'm going to do is just to take that off for a minute. I'm going to just put some solder on the end of the tab first, because it helps it adhere the wire to it first. There we go. Put it on both. That's better. So here we go, we've put some solder on the ends there. And get it back into place now. I need another bit of solder. Now we can solder it to it now, hopefully. Very difficult to do this on camera, this bit. Right, that's one. Double check that's all right first. It's not going to pull off or anything. Nope. And now we've got to get the second one on, which is never easy, but we shall persevere with it. So I'm going to need something to. Right, so let's get that over to. This is where often you could do with two people doing these sort of things, but as I'm doing it on my own, it's never easy. So we've got the. I managed to force that into place a bit better. Loads of solder on there. Hold that down. Hopefully that's done it. There we go. Perfection. It's all in place now. So now all we want to do is we want to get our mains filter, and we need to put our screws in. So there's one screw there in the hole there, you can see the hole. Now I've got to try to get that in place. I need a screwdriver. Get a screwdriver down there, get that in place. Put it in a little bit just to start it off. Well, this is the bit that gets complicated because the wires are very tight, because you can't have too much wiring going on. It's a matter of threading the wire back through here, pushing it in. I need to turn that. So there we go, off camera I managed to fit it in. I managed to screw it. Sometimes it's really awkward to get these things in place. So we've got it to that stage now, so all we need to do now is to wire up our IEC plug here and solder it onto these terminals here. So let's get cracking on that. So this is our wire for the inlet. So all we've got to do now is just solder the ends of this up. Put it on there to there, just so it helps to adhere the cable to the plug. Right, so that's nice and neat. So now we've got our neutral and our live there. So we just need to solder those to each. So we're going to put a bit of, again, we're going to put some solder on these terminals as well first. So I'm a bit shaky this morning. I was out in the pub last night watching the Champions League final, which didn't go very well for us. Although loads of Man United fans in there cheering Real Madrid. There we go. I'll put a bit on this as well. While we're doing it, there we go. It makes it so much easier to solder once you do that. If you now what we'll do, we'll lift that up like so. That'll be easier. So we've got the neutral on the left and the, there we go. See, when you're doing things on your own, you have to think of ingenious ways of holding stuff. I mean, people that do this for a living have obviously got ways of doing it. There we go, and that's nice and neat. I always like it to look neat as well, because so much better when it looks neat. For some reason, just put a bit more solder on that one there. There we go. Now what we've got to do is load our soldering iron up beforehand. There we go. I see the camera's flickering a little bit at the moment, which is probably to do with the light. Right, so let's bring that back a bit, see if we can focus in better. There you go, nothing worse than this flickering like that. But sometimes I can't do a lot about that without, that's better. Right, okay, so we've got it to that stage, so we're just going to twist that a bit more around. And now we need to cut a bit of earth, because we need a bit of earth wire to go onto the earth terminal there, which I shall go over and cut a bit if I can find something to cut it with. These will do. So it's a bit of earth wire there, about the right size, so I just need to strip that off a bit, cut that there. Now this earth wire is very thick, but I like using the thick earth wire. Nothing better than a dodgy earth. I like it nice to be nice and thick. Right, let's just solder the end of that up now as well. Now this has been quite a big project altogether, although I've had to leave it for a while because I haven't had time to finish it. It's even like filming now. My little girl's in hospital, my youngest one, with a chest infection, and I've got to go up there later. My wife's with her, but so I would have had this done a few days ago, but I haven't had time. Right, so let's get this down there. We'll put that under there now, and we'll pop that on the top. What we're going to do is we're going to hold that underneath because we don't want that interfering with the there we go. Look at that. Now it's amazing the amount of solder you use up doing these jobs. Alright, let's just see if we can get that connected there. Alright, that needs to be wiped a bit because it's not picking the solder up very well. Right, that should do that, hopefully. Let's have a look. Oh yes, that's perfect. So that's all perfectly soldered now. So now we've got to get the body of the main conditioner up onto the bench again now, and just fit that into place. So now we've got our IEC plug fitted in there. I haven't screwed it in yet. So all we've got to do now is we want to mark some marks on the wire there, because we need to chop these wires down because they're way too long. I always like making them oversized and chopping them down, otherwise make that a bit longer. Right, okay, so let's pull that back out again now. Push that up here for a minute. Now we just want to chop this down a bit. So that one can be chopped down to about there. This one to about here. So this sort of wire is more difficult to cut with these sort of wire cutters because it's all stranded and that, and it's handmade, so we don't really want to. Let's use a pair of scissors here just to chop that off of there, and we'll just chop that off here with a pair of scissors as well. Right, okay, so we've just got to strip these back now and solder them up. So we've stripped back the wires now, and all we've got to do now is just to solder the ends of them. Never best soldering after drinking alcohol. Never goes that well. Well, it doesn't with me anyway. There we go. Lovely and neat. Nothing better than a neat job. This is why being thicker, it takes a bit more to get the solder running. Come on. Now you've got stuck. There we go, that's nice and neat. Right. So now we've got to offer that back into the main hub here. There we go. And just solder them up. So as we say, we've got our negative that side, our positive this side, and the earth there. So we're just going to push all that back inside there for the minute. Right, so lift that up there. Right, so bend these back a bit. You have to manipulate the wires a little bit to get them into place. Okay, it's never easy. Get it on there. That's better. So get that one up as well and down. There you go, that's perfect. What I'll do is I'll solder it like that first, and then we can then push our plug back into place. But I've made a fatal mistake again of not putting any solder on the ends of these bits first, because it does help adhere it to it. So we'll pull that back again. Let's just put some solder on down there. There we go, it's gone on there nice. It's got in there nice. And so is that. Right, need a bit more on that one there. Right, so let's push this back into place again, get these into about the right position we need, and then we can then fire away with the soldering again there. Gone on there, beautiful that is, look at that. Right, so just pull this back a little bit there, pull it just back. Come on, I need something there just to fold the wire back slightly. Push that. Right, I think that'll be about right there. Now this is only gentle filter in this filter. It's not heavy filtering. Now I've come to the conclusion in a way that less is more, and after taking filters in and out of my system, I just find that it's better to not have too much in there. I mean, we're all different, and you might have other ideas yourself. You might find it sounds better to you, but to me, I started to realise that. Right, so that there, make sure that don't touch. I need to bring that wire down slightly. That's it, that's better. And then this has now got to be soldered to there, which we can do. There we go, look at that, splendid. Now we need to do is just to give this all a good clean out before we start to, so that's all there. Now we can push our plug back in now, it gets a bit tight now, so we got to, it's because the earth wires very tight. So we're just going to drill in the IEC plug here, screw it in place. So we need to pilot it first. There we go. Then we're using some very small screws here just to screw it into place. There we go, that's going nice and neat. There we go, look at that. That's a nice professional job there. So that's all in. So all we've got to do now is to put our sockets on. So Milo, the jazz dog, has decided to join us for a minute. Hey, say hello, Milo. Look at him, you mutt. Hey, go and listen to a bit of John Coltrane. Go on. I know you love John. Right, so here we go. This is it all ready now. So all we've got to do is fit our sockets in and put our feet on, give it a bit of a dust over and a clean up before we put the sockets in, and then the job will be finished. So we're at the stage now we're going to fit the plug sockets on here. So what I want to do first of all is just to put a bit of some Pro Gold on the contacts. I've treated all of these plugs with cake deoxit, and now all I want to do is just get all the contacts in there with this Pro Gold. I know it's taking things to the extreme, but while I'm doing it, I might as well get all these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to fit this one plug on. Then I shall crack on and get all the rest of the plugs fitted on, and then we can take it from there. So I've just got to find a screwdriver now. Just there we go. That's a perfect one, that is. So we've got our live and our neutral here, and our two earths. Right, now the beauty of these plugs is obviously there's two earth wires in there. So I may have to chop some of these earths down a little bit. They may be slightly too long. This one here, it's going to be, might have to fold it a little bit as you get it into the unit. So we can get one in there, and one in there. I've got it the wrong way round because I want to keep it this way round. Or am I doing it this way round? Yes, because that needs to go up that end. That's it. Right, okay, so I want to get one earth in there and the other earth in, so they're in really nice, and then we just need to screw these down. Now that's it. This is the way I need to screw it down this side. You can see there the two terminals there, so let's just screw that one down first. Can't see that now. I've definitely got to improve my lighting on this. Right, that's gone in there nice, that one. Just tighten it, really want to make sure I get a really good grip on that. There we go. So now we want to get our second one in. I don't know whether you can see that very well there. It's really awkward on camera. There we go. So the earth, there's a main earth that runs right the way through the body of this unit, straight to this earth plug there, and then that earth plug then has another earth coming off it that goes all the way, which then daisy chains along the unit, and then at the other end there's an earth that connects to the units, to the filter unit, and then the other earth runs off that, which I'll show you anyway, which you probably saw when I was doing it. But right, okay, so that's that there, like so. Now this is always going to be tight with these, with this sort of earth there. Right, so now we need to get our live and our neutral. So because I've got another socket here and I can't really see that well under there, so that's our neutral on the right there, which we're going to run. There we go. That goes in there. Come on. Now I've already wired this up before to test it, to see how well it went earlier on, and it works well. So, oh God, come on. Okay. I have to do all these things off of camera a lot of the time. Right, so that's that one, and then the live is, where's that now? It's in there. There we go. Now probably mask this up afterwards and give this another flat back and another spray, just because I'm a perfectionist and I like it to look very professional once it's finished, which you won't see. I'll do that off of camera, and then I'll show you the finished article at the end. Because there's a few marks on it now in areas where I've scratched it slightly. Very hard to do it without damaging it. Right, so there we go. Now I should have some screws there. One screw there's popped out, and I seem to have lost one screw, so I shall take it out of another for now until I find it. As I said, this is organised chaos in this studio. Right, so there we go. That's all connected there. Now all we need to do is just get it down. That's it. And we want to make sure it's all connected still, nothing's snapped off or anything in there. There we go. Right, let's just see if we can screw this into place. If that goes in there. Now of course these are not silver plated plugs that I'm using here. These are standard Logic Plus, unswitched Logic Plus plugs. Now you can use some silver plated ones that would be even better, but the beauty is you can upgrade as you go along to those if you don't want to use them at first, because they're a bit more pricey. And to be fair, I quite like these plugs. They're not as good as they used to be. These sockets, I should say, they're not as good as they used to be, but they're still not bad. Okay, getting that in there nicely. That's that there. I won't tighten it too much until we nicely level it up. So I've been back to the hospital today to see my daughter. Spent another 4 hours there until my wife came back, and she should be coming home tomorrow, hopefully. So the breathing's under control and she's off of the oxygen now, which is good. So I thought, while they're there and I'm not under pressure, I shall crack this on and get this finished. There we go. Right, now I don't want to over tighten that just in case it cracks the plastic. There we go. So that is one socket fitted. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fit all the rest of these on, then I'll come back when I fitted those on, and then we're going to fit the cap on the top of the filter. So I'll be back shortly. So here we have our sockets all fitted in now. And all we've got to do now is to fit our glass cover for the filter there. So we'll put it on the tripod, and we'll do that now. So I've got all the the screws in place. We just need to screw this down now, gentle. That's it. Make sure this is all nice and straight and square. That's about right. There we go. There we go. So let's take this off the tripod now. There we go, all nicely finished. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a bit of clean up on this, and then I'll be back and show you the finished article. So here we have the mains conditioning hub finished. Finally, look at that. Splendid job. Took a while, as you can tell. Never easy building these things, as I keep saying. So this is the power cord that I made for it, which I didn't do on a video, which I will do on a later date. But this is a very thick cable, and this will just come up and push into there, and then it will go into the electric. I've tested it all works beautifully, and there we go. As I say, it's taken a while, but I got there finally. So all I've got to say now is thanks for watching another Tweaker Man video. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to give the video a like. Don't forget to press that notification bell so you're notified every time I upload a video. And thank you for watching, guys.